The crime rate exploded in the 1970s. I don't even know why. In fact, no one does. The causes are still hotly debated today. Some people have suggested it's because there were so many young baby boomers around. Others have suggested it's because the jail sentencing had started to become more lenient, which means there were more people on the streets who should have been in jail. And one of the weirder explanations is because of the lead in the gasoline. Yeah, that's like a possibility. Anyway, that doesn't matter. The important thing is crime was high and people were really angry that the cops couldn't do anything to stop it. Cops sucking at their jobs. It's almost like the 1970s was a weird microcosm of reality. Welcome to Exploitation Reviews, and me, Rob, and today I'm taking a look at one of the all-time great vigilante films, Death Wish from 1974, starring one of the all-time great movie tough guys, Charles Bronson. And we open on Bronson, here playing architect Paul Kersey, taking some sexy pictures of his wife on a beach. The couple is feeling amorous, and they discuss where they want to do the deed. And before we go on, let me just say, wow, Bronson looks amazing for being 53. Back in New York, we learn a bit more about our main character.
You know, decent people are going to have to work here and live somewhere else.
By decent people, you mean people who can afford to live somewhere else.
Oh, Christ. You are such a bleeding heart liberal, Paul.
Whoa, when did movies get so woke? Anyway, Kersey's wife and his daughter, they go grocery shopping and they're followed home by a trio of thugs, including Jeff Goldblum in his film debut. The trio pretend to be delivery people from the grocery store and they bust in. And what they're after is money, and when there's very little money to be found, they get violent. They beat the wife unconscious and then they have some grape soda with the daughter. The wife later dies and the daughter becomes catatonic. Kersey meets with the cops to see if there's any chance of catching these guys, but this is a vigilante movie, so we all know how effective cops are. Paul, of course, is really shaken up by all of this, and his boss suggests to take the project in Arizona to kind of, have a little sort of workcation, get his mind off things. And it seems to work for the most part. Paul kind of becomes friends with the guy he's doing business with in Arizona. The guy takes him to a gun range, and it turns out Paul's a crack shot. When he gets back to civilization, when he gets back to the city, he opens his mail and he finds those pictures he had taken of his wife. And he finds that his new friend in Arizona had packed him a present, a gun. Nice. So now we have a nice reminder of everything that he has lost and one way he could save other people from losing the same thing. Time to take out the trash. His first outing leaves him a little upset, but he gets better and a lot more confident. But it doesn't take long for the police to start to connect these murders. They're all with the same gun, they all have the same MO. The press gets wise too, and there starts to be a kind of a media circus surrounding all of these murders. Crime in the city starts to go down, and the police are worried this information might inspire further vigilante killings. Of course, they like the fact that crime is dropping, but they can't encourage vigilantism, of course. So they want the vigilante to stop, but they don't want to make a martyr out of him by arresting him, so they're kind of in a tough spot. If they do catch him, what are they going to do? How are they going to balance all of these interests? Well, that's enough out of me as far as plot goes. Let's talk some highlights. Some vigilante films do a rather piss-poor job of motivating the vigilante killer. Looking at you, John Wick. But that's not the case here. A city out of control with crime, a completely ineffectual police force, a murdered wife, a catatonic daughter. Yeah, I get it. We can all get it. And I really like the development of Paul Kersey here in his role as vigilante. He starts off pretty nervous, he even pukes after the first time he kills someone. And then he becomes this ultra cool, super confident mugger stalker. He becomes Charles Bronson. The messaging here in this movie is pretty interesting as well. The author of the book really disliked the movie because he saw it as pro-vigilante, and that was pretty much the opposite point of the book. But me, I like subversive movies, and this movie is definitely subversive. I'm a particular fan of movies where victims of unjust societies are motivated into changing things for the better, and they do so in ways that are disruptive to society. Oh, Rob, are you saying you're pro-vigilante? Well, no. In the real world, vigilantism is problematic. People have a tendency to overestimate how much they've been harmed, which means when they go to get justice, they take too much. This doesn't really balance the scales very well. But what I am in favor of is people fighting back, and fighting back in ways that can be disruptive. Disruption works. The powers that be don't give a shit about peaceful protesters or petitions or tweets or stupid hats. All that stuff is theater that they can and do ignore. But they will pay attention if you disrupt their lives, and that's what we need to do if we want to change things. Vigilante stories capture this really well. In Death Wish in particular, extremely well. Some people will be turned off by the fact that Paul Kersey doesn't hunt down the people who hurt his family, but that's not really the point. We live in a society, and we all have a responsibility to make society better. Paul takes on that responsibility and helps his neighbors by killing muggers. We could learn from his example, even if we don't go about things exactly how he does. Oh, but what can we do? We all put on pink hats and they still ignored us. Well, maybe instead of putting on pink hats, you should have...